Hi, I'm Lynn Aubuchon.
My name is Catherine Raymond. I'm a morning show host,
Director of Marketing and Promotions, and co-host of the K-Tide Morning Show.
Radio announcer, DJ.
I've been on the air for 20 plus years.
36 years.
And I've been doing this for about 40 years. I think back in the late 60s and early 70s, there was a feeling like this is us. But then a lot of that was fueled by baby boomers, you know, people my age, who, because we were the largest bulge of the population. But it was like we had our own radio station, you know, we had, or a couple of them. I mean, but they were all really kind of talking to our culture, you know, things that we were interested in at the time, you know, the type of clothing that we were interested in. It was all kind of wrapped up in a singular cultural statement that a particular station would represent.
Well, I think that, you know, I think that whether you're a listener or you're an advertiser or you're on the radio, we all imagine a group of people that we're trying to talk to. So really, it'd be kind of interesting to put 5 different people in one room and say, you know, just describe who you're talking to, and I'll bet you the descriptions come up pretty close to the same.
It's sort of, I think over the years, Gary and I have come to think of it as sort of an extended family, and people feel, especially with the format of our station and what we're doing, that they're part of sort of this larger family. So I've always felt that imagined community. I've just never really heard it in terms of that. And I think that we obviously play a role in that, you know, we're ourselves with our personalities and sort of just being real and talking and sharing our own personal stories and things, that they feel a part of that. But also when we are doing contests or any other thing that involves other people that are calling into the radio station, then people are also hearing other people from their community. And I would suppose that they're putting some sort of mental picture together of this community of people that all listen to K-Light.
When you're on the phone, you know you're talking to somebody specific. When you're on the radio, you know you're talking to everybody that's right here, that's listening right now. So you just have to assume that they're the people you see every day in the car, they're the people that you see at the post office or at the grocery store, or maybe it's your neighbor that you wave to.
When radio first started out, it was a very unifying situation, because the country, it's a big country, America, and very rural in the center part of the country. Radio was the one thing that connected the whole country together, and Franklin Roosevelt used that to great success in unifying the country, helping him get elected 4 times. So it was a very unifying factor, and people came to depend upon it.
We're getting more and more people that take their community with them. So people that travel, like we just got an email from somebody that's been an avid listener for the last decade, and she was traveling in Germany with work, and she gave us this great email, hey, I'm listening to you guys here. So I think people are able to sort of take their community on the road with them, makes them feel connected.
It is interesting to sit there and realize that we're talking about Santa Barbara. We don't really talk to those people on the internet. You know, we don't talk to the people who listen to us in England or Germany or wherever. We talk to the local community, and they are kind of like eavesdropping on it all, you see. So I don't think it's really changed, because our focus is completely and utterly the South Coast. What the other people in the internet listening to radio stations that are not in their community, they're kind of like maybe listening and kind of, you know, living along with it. You know, they're kind of like imagining themselves in this environment, and they get a kick out of hearing us say things like, it's a brutally cold day today, it's going to be 40 degrees. You know, in January, that's not an issue in Germany.
Well, I think that what's changed about it is just that, is that you don't really know who's listening until they reach out. For example, we get, on a weekly basis, we get emails from people in Dallas or Ohio or even London and England or Ireland. We got an email the other day from an English teacher, or a teacher in England that teaches an IT class, and every Friday, every Tuesday they have K-Tide on all day long in their class. So the technology has just allowed us to reach more in a very specific way, because we know that we're not just anywhere, we're a choice. So we're talking to people that have chosen to listen to us for whatever reason.
Well, at the beginning of radio, when the families would gather around those large, big radios, I think it's probably changed to some degree, because you have it's kind of a family situation there. People discuss things, and it becomes more of a singular use of the radio. I mean, instead of having everybody listening to it together in a room, if you have everybody getting their own radio and going off into different rooms, they're probably listening to different things. That's the other thing you have to remember, is when the radio first started out, there weren't that many choices. I mean, when radio first came on in the 20s and 30s and so forth, there was 1 or 2 or 3 radio stations to hear. And the proliferation of radio stations didn't really take off until you got into the 50s and the 60s and 70s with FM.
I think people use radio along with their iPods when they want to have their friends touch base with them. In that we're their friends. We want to, they want to hear from us what's going on, where they can, go and see us at Fiesta or at Solstice or where all the things that are going on there. As far as music, I mean, you can have an iPod, you can throw it on shuffle, you can get whatever you get, but you know what you're going to get ultimately because you've downloaded it. On the radio, something may just come up that you haven't heard in years and bring back that special memory, or that awful one that you go, oh, I'll come back to that.
Yeah, I think because there's more to an iPod is giving you music, and it'll give you music the way you designed it and put it in there. But there's other things happening in radio. I mean, there's a feeling of what's going on in your community when we make an announcement, whether it's for a commercial advertiser or for the fact that there's an event coming on this weekend. There's a sense of community that's just impossible to have in an iPod, because an iPod is just going to be music, and that's just music.
Do you create like a DJ in a box or something? You're still not connected in your community the way you are with old-fashioned radio.
The Beatles still have an enormous influence through generations in their music, but the Beatles could never happen today, because there's too much. The diffusion of media has just really kind of, you only 80% of the country or 70% of the country watched the Beatles when they were on Ed Sullivan. That couldn't happen now, because there's just too many things. People wouldn't watch it on television. They might watch it 2 or 3 days later on YouTube, but it wouldn't have that immediate, concentrated effect. And I think that the diffusion of media has changed communities. Some other communities form on the internet. I mean, people talk about a Facebook community, but what kind of a community do you have when you have 500 million people on it? I think there was a greater sense of community. There was a sense that if you went on vacation for a week and left town, and you came back, you wanted to turn on the radio to see what you missed. What's going on, what's happening. Whether it's, like I said, whether it's political or some event going on, or what music is going on. And there was a greater sense of community. And I think a lot of it's just the diffusion of technology, diffusion of media has affected that.
Oh, it's the only reason people would listen to radio now, because there's so many different ways, especially, in the morning we're maybe spinning 6 or 7 songs an hour. I mean, you can get those songs anywhere. You could download them, you could, listen to them anywhere, so why would you listen to the radio? I mean, really the only reason is to connect with your community, to hear what's going on, to hear familiar voices, to feel like you're part of a community. So, and that way I think that it's really the only way that radio will survive, to become more and more local and to create that sense of community.
I think radio is really just a companion. It's with you whenever you want it, wherever you want it, whether it's at home or in the car or online, at work.
The fact that radio, especially FM radio, from where I came out of in the 60s and 70s, The fact that it had created a sense of community and so forth, and that's changed. I don't think that's necessarily terrible. I mean, it was kind of fun then, but you know, things evolve, things change. More people have more access to more information and more different kinds of music and entertainment than they ever have ever. Do I see anything going back to kind of consolidate that so that it has more of a sense of community? Probably not. People are going to have to make their own communities, and they'll use whatever technology they have available to them to do it.
I don't think there's ever going to be a time that radio won't be available. I hope not, at least, because I'll be unemployed.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but it doesn't seem to me like it's ever going to go back to the way it was.
So that's, to me, what radio's all about.